Well, Dreams was written in the midst of Lindsay's and my breakup. And at the end of it, when it says, when the rain washes you clean, you'll know, was very much meant to mean we will be okay. We'll get through this. We are breaking up. I understand he doesn't feel the same way about the way I feel about it, but that is what, in truth, it was written about, was that no matter what happens to Lindsay and I as a couple, this band will go on. And we'll see it through, and we'll be all right. He seems to take it a different way.
Well, of course, we don't know what that way is, so we'll leave that out. But
And ask him.
that's right. What about Mick is great. Does anybody even talk about Big Love, or is that like all right? These guys are like.
Tell me how you first met Stevie Nicks.
When I was a junior in high school up in Northern California, she transferred into my high school as a senior. She did play guitar, and she and I interacted slightly on a musical level at a couple of social events. And then she moved on and went to college, and I stayed behind and finished high school. And near the end of my senior year, I finally got in a band, and then we graduated from high school, and all of us were going to end up going to the same college that Stevie happened to be at. And I think our drummer said, well, why don't we ask Stevie if she wants to join the band? And so we did, and she did join. That band played around the Bay Area.
And the band, this first band was?
The band was called Fritz.
Fritz.
Yes. We did quite well on a local level, you know. We're doing clubs and, you know, high school dances. And at some point, we got some opening spots for some larger acts, Janis Joplin and a few other people. And all during that time, Stevie and I were not really romantically involved. And then, towards the end of that band being together, we tried to get a deal in Los Angeles and could not generate any interest. But the one thing that happened from that attempt was that people singled out Stevie and myself more than once. And so when Fritz broke up, Stevie and I were looking at each other going, well, what now? And we thought, well, we could try doing a duet. And so at that point, we actually did get romantically involved, and we got musically involved as a duet and worked up in Northern California for a year or so on. I'd never written a song, you know. She wrote, but I didn't. So I said, well, I guess I better try to write. And so we wrote some material and eventually got a deal down in Los Angeles on Polydor and made that one album, Buckingham Nicks album.
Not a bad phase.
No. I mean, you know, that album holds up pretty well. It did not do well commercially, but it certainly was noticed. And more importantly, it was noticed by Mick Fleetwood.
So, that's the next step. Tell me how you came together with Fleetwood Mac.
Well, it was really a crossing of paths in the night. Mick Fleetwood was looking for a studio and had kind of been languishing on the label on Warner Brothers. And I always like to say that Mo Austin, who was the president of Warner Brothers at that time, he was quite a visionary, in my opinion. And in those days, executives had the autonomy to make decisions based on their gut, unlike today. In today's world, there would not have been a Fleetwood Mac for us to join. They would have been off the label because they were not really making any money for Warner Brothers at that time. But Mo Austin had the smarts, the instincts, and more importantly, the autonomy to say, well, there's something interesting here. I'm just going to let the ferment keep going and see what happens. And lo and behold, here's Mick Fleetwood waltzing into Sound City, which was the studio that Stevie and I had done Buckingham Nicks at, and I happened to walk into the main studio when Mick was there, not knowing who he was or that anyone from Fleetwood Mac was there. And I see this giant guy just rocking away to one of the songs on the Buckingham Nicks album, and he's my guitar solo, and so we meet, and okay. Well, a couple of weeks later, Fleetwood Mac's guitarist Bob Welch decided he was going to leave the group. So Mick, being a very intuitive guy himself, had been so impressed by my playing, as the story goes anyway, that he sought me out through Keith, called me up, said, "Lindsay, would you like to join Fleetwood Mac?" Very much out of the blue. And of course, my response was, well, if you take me, you'll have to take my girlfriend too.
And they did.
And they did. Well, I think they consulted with Christine McVie if she was okay with another girl, and she was. And it came together. But it was such a fortuitous thing that could have just as easily never happened. Very nice piece of luck.
Let's talk about the album Rumors. A lot of people considered it at the time, and for that matter since, as the perfect or near perfect album for the times. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most famous rock albums in history. Lots of top 10 hits. What was it really about, Rumors? I'm keeping in mind that one critic called it a flawless record pulled from the wreckage of real lives.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Working out as glamorous and as glitzy as it was, love wasn't working out. Christine divorced John, and I left Lindsay. So we went into Rumors, all of us, on the rocks.
All the songs are about life on the road and about things that were going down within the band, within relationships and things like that.
The songs that he wrote about me were horrifying. Go Your Own Way. Go Your Own Way is a nice way to say a really worse thing, And, shacking up is all you want to do, which was not true. And I had to listen to him sing that on stage every night. And he'd look at me when he'd say it. And I would just be going, don't look at me when you say that. The Tender Love song that you wrote for me, it's how mean.